KSC, presents. Family dog withholds baby, then mom sees surprising reason why. Catherine Svilicic never would have guessed her rescue dog would act out with aggression towards her young 17-month-old baby. When a mother sees her own child being tossed like that, they fear for her child's life, of course, and her precious face. A young baby like that would hopefully not need cosmetic surgery to fix claw marks on her delicate face. Thus, on that fateful morning, she ran with her baby to shelter, but what happened next revealed something about her new dog's intentions. Back when Catherine Svilicic chose to adopt the rescued Doberman, she did not expect anything but a loving pet. Of course, she envisioned the dog bonding with her baby daughter and becoming inseparable. Once things unexpectedly changed in her own backyard, she was shocked. Even though she knew rescues come from abuse or neglect and that can affect their behavior, she took a chance. I guess that's what rescue is all about, taking a chance on a poor animal, so maybe the animal will live a better life. While many people prefer to buy a new dog from a breeder, another option is to adopt a rescue dog. There are so many dogs waiting to be rescued and have a family to call their own. Adopting is a great way to help improve the life of a rescue pup. Just as many families do at a point, the Svilicics chose to add a new family member by adopting a pet. Shortly after her daughter Charlotte's birth, Catherine decided she wanted a close bond with a dog for Charlotte. The family knew they wanted to perform a good deed. By rescuing, they were saving a dog. As they already had a healthy child, they felt fortunate enough to save another life. Thus, Catherine called the dog shelter close by to inquire about adoption. After hearing about the available animals, she chose a Doberman Pinscher. Once they signed adoption papers, they named the dog Con. Catherine decided to adopt to add a protector to the family. Perhaps, the idea of rescue did give her a bit of reservations as she signed the papers for adoption. Yet, she put her faith in the dog. There's nothing quite like the bond between dogs and humans. This is especially the case when a dog is brought into a young child's life, as the child grows up with a companion, friend, and protector. Catherine was hopeful this would provide valuable lessons for her baby, such as sharing, learning to love and responsibility to care for animals. She was looking forward to having the dog join the family. Despite hearing of Con's rough background, Catherine immediately loved the dog. She was overjoyed to bring this special dog back to her family. Of course, she realized there were risks involved. Well, the obvious risks from bringing a large, potentially dangerous canine to her young baby. Catherine pushed them aside. If she had not adopted Con, he would have been put down just a week later. So, this was his new life and second chance, and the family was hoping for the best. Everything began smoothly. They trained Con during the first few days. However, everything changed on that fourth day when the dog acted completely out of character. The fateful day began with the usual playtime outside. Although baby Charlotte had her parents watching from a distance, they did not notice anything out of the ordinary. Charlotte and the new dog had been making a habit of playing out back like this. However, things were different this day. So what was actually happening out there? The two were not being loud or crazy. They began running through the backyard grass together. That was until Con's temperament seemed to change dramatically. Again, Catherine watched the two closely, feeling reassured in her decision to adopt Con. Surprisingly, things had changed within an instant. Con began acting wildly aggressive. This was not the normal play between the two. Something was terribly wrong here. He stopped the play and grabbed the baby. Mouth agape, Catherine watched in complete and utter shock. She did not understand what set Con off and how he could suddenly become this way. She knew her child could never provoke the animal. Could those fearful people who warned her about his breed be right? Or was it his past triggering this behavior? She watched as Con tossed Charlotte across their lawn. What happened next alarmed Catherine and everyone present. No one could believe what they saw. Meanwhile, her baby seemed to be unaffected as she continued to wander through the grass. Why was Con acting as though an innocent child was a threat? Catherine watched him drag her child, hoping he would stop. Sadly, it seemed Catherine needed to immediately intervene because this was only the beginning. In what appeared at first to be a fit of rage, the dog tried a different technique. This is when things got out of hand. He tightly clenched his jaws into her diaper to toss her back and forth. Catherine was shocked to see Con's act so out of character and aggressive. She never thought he would display this behavior, let alone threaten her child. This left Catherine completely devastated. Of course, she was angry with Con for lashing out on her innocent 17-month-old. However, something deep down told Catherine there was more to this than what they were seeing. Little did she know, these suspicions would turn out to be true. Initially, as playtime turned violent, Catherine was paralyzed. She was frozen in the kitchen while she watched it all unfold. Maybe it was the shock that made this feel nightmare-like and not reality. That's when she told herself there was more to this, but her baby was still in great danger. Catherine was paralyzed in a denial of sorts. This could not be real. She desperately hoped she had not brought such a threat into her own house. Catherine noted that her baby seemed a target once the actions had suddenly become extreme. That moment we mentioned when the dog sunk his teeth into Charlotte's diaper and used his strength to toss her like what witnesses described, a rag doll. How terrifying. Again, the family was lucky those teeth did not go near her skin and especially face. Catherine could not imagine the guilt she would feel if her baby needed cosmetic surgery, all because of a rescue they took in. However, her baby did not need cosmetic surgery and was actually quite calm. Perhaps, the baby understood something about Khan's intentions. Without any tears, Charlotte appeared almost shell-shocked herself. Her mother needed to act fast and grab her distressed child. Something happened to Khan next that confused the whole family. That's right, the baby did not even shed a tear. While the baby stayed calm, others could not help but panic. Even Charlotte's mother said, "Had I not seen it with my very own eyes, I'd never have believed it." Therefore, with urgency, she ran to Charlotte and carried her to safety. While Catherine brought her baby to shelter, Khan barked frantically and then collapsed. Now, Catherine needed to make sense of her suspicions and the situation. Perhaps, this new rescue was trying to protect her baby. He continued to whimper. What was happening? Something strange was happening. He did not just collapse for nothing. The dog began crying. No one understood what was going on. Quickly, Catherine scanned her daughter's body for any bruises or cuts. Miraculously, her child was unharmed. Of course, Catherine was a lot more upset than her undisturbed baby. Though Charlotte was unscathed, Khan was obviously not doing well. The dog continued crying and then fell lifeless. Now this sent Catherine into panic mode. She focused on the dog, watching his dying eyes, and realized he had been protecting her child. However, time was of the essence, and it was clear he needed emergency care. Finally, the family realized Khan was the hero, not a viscous assailant. Turns out, Khan was protecting Charlotte from a poisonous, dangerous creature. Even after living with the family for a mere 4 days, he really became the protector of the baby that Catherine had hoped. As Khan's condition worsened, Catherine was desperate to save this amazing pet. She recognized the immense sacrifice Khan made for her daughter. The family worried it could be too late for their new pet and savior. Due to the poisonous venom, Khan was sent into immediate paralysis. Even though the dog was a tough breed and strong young dog, he was not able to handle this powerful venom. Signing those adoption papers, Catherine committed to caring for Khan. He needed her now more than ever. She knew there were only a select number of people able to save him in time. With the rest of the family watching in shock, Catherine grabbed the lifeless dog. She carried him away as another family member took baby Charlotte. As Catherine held Khan in her arms, Khan's tongue hung out of his mouth, and he gasped for air. Despite someone insisting it was far too late for Khan, Catherine did not give up. In hindsight, if the family waited any longer, it would have been all too obvious there was no hope for Khan. However, seeing him gasp for air still, Catherine had hope. She mustered all her strength to bring the large Doberman to her car and put him in the front. As she sped for the vet, she could hear his breathing slow. Through the panic, she maintained hope, but the following hours would determine whether he could survive. As Catherine pressed on the pedal, she glanced over at her new dog. She hoped she could live up to her promise to give this rescue a new life. Again, she thought how he sacrificed himself for her sweet baby. These racing thoughts and the worry of life or death led to a bit of slightly reckless driving. Later on, Catherine commented, "I never knew I was able to drive this well. I guess adrenaline does its thing." After her somewhat reckless time on the road, they reached the vet. Catherine jumped out and ran in with Khan. There was no time for signing in or waiting in this situation. Catherine yelled for anti-venom and help for Khan. She was in the right place. Sure enough, vets ran over and rushed Khan away. It was obvious the dog was in critical condition, and they knew removing the toxins from Khan's body was top priority. Catherine realized she acted with pure adrenaline. She looked back on her actions saying, "If you asked me to carry his weight right now, I don't think I'd be able to do it." Perhaps, it was her motherly instincts helping her protect her new family member. After just 4 days, Khan truly became one with the Svilicics and even saved baby Charlotte from a poisonous creature. From Khan's eyes, Catherine saw all she needed. It was clear that he wanted to protect the young baby because of his unconditional love. He solidified his place in the family. However, now it was Catherine's turn to return the favor. Charlotte was safe, so Catherine could fully devote her attention to Khan. When the vets took over, Catherine cried and felt totally helpless, so she prayed for his recovery. Now, Catherine had to find patience within herself as the vets did all they could. Of course, knowing experts were caring for Khan did not stop her from worrying. There was a sickness in the pit of her stomach as she hoped she wouldn't lose a new member of the family. The vets returned to a pacing Catherine to update her on Khan. Immediately, Catherine ran to the vets with her endless questions. Sadly, all the vet could say was they were uncertain if Khan could survive this. He responded to Catherine with, "We don't know yet, madam. We did what we could, but now his body has to fight the poison. The anti-venom will certainly help, but we don't know to what extent. It's best that you come back tomorrow morning." Hearing this, her heart sank because she hoped for a little more positive news. Still, she hung on to hope for his survival. As Catherine left the vet, she couldn't get her mind off of the poor dog. She continued to replay the day's events in her head. Everything was racing in her mind constantly, and she could not even sleep. Thus, she watched Charlotte deep in slumber, never imagining her day would have turned out this way. She was overwhelmed with gratitude that her child was safe and sound. However, a deep wave of guilt washed over her that she couldn't have done more to save her dog from this deadly attack. When morning hit, Catherine climbed out of bed super early. She hadn't slept, but got ready anyway. Throwing on the first thing she found, she got her kids ready for school quickly before heading for the vet. Her mind continued to race. In her rush, she hoped to be first at the vet to hear an update on Khan. As she anxiously waited for news, she replayed it all and considered every possible outcome from tragic to joyful. In the wake of such a dramatic incident, she couldn't stop her racing thoughts. With her patience running low, she approached the receptionist to ask when any news could be expected. Apparently, they had results and would finally speak with her. Before even telling her Khan's current state, the vets told Catherine about the deadly creature. This creature had been living in Catherine's very own backyard without her knowledge. She then pictured how things could have been different if this deadly animal tragically caught one of her kids. Then, she would currently be sitting in an emergency room and not at the vet's clinic. However, she could not even fathom the reality of those scenarios. It was Khan's animal instincts that helped him act quickly and save Charlotte from the deadly mulga. Although many view Dobermans as attack dogs, clearly, they are loyal to the death for their owners. Khan guarded the baby while risking his life the entire time, demonstrating his unconditional love. Perhaps, it was the dog's way of repaying the favor to his family who saved his life. The heroic Khan was at great risk for not surviving this powerful venom. The entire family hoped to welcome him home safely, but things were not looking great. It was unimaginable for family members to think about how Charlotte could have been the one in critical condition that afternoon. In honor of his bravery, the family felt he deserved to fight this and survive himself. But what would the waiting reveal? As they waited, the Svilicics just hoped and prayed for a positive outcome. The truth is that Khan was in the hands of vets. The vets were unremittingly working on removing all the snake venom from the body. Catherine reflected on this heroism. He saved her life by risking his own. From now on, he's Khan the Wonder Dog. They anxiously waited for news on this wonder dog. Next, Catherine finally spoke on the phone with the vet to hear the news. Alas, it was time to hear about the dog after what felt like centuries of waiting. As dog lovers know all too well, there is nothing like the love of your pet dog. Even though they only had Khan for 4 short days, in that time he miraculously saved their child's life. Obviously, this elevated his status in the family. The vet had given the dog anti-venom. This shot was meant to revive him from the snakebite trauma. Now, they were waiting to see its effect on the animal. Upon the adoption, the family hoped to give a rescue another chance at life. When the Svilicic family picked up Khan, the shelter told Catherine about Khan's background. Apparently, he was previously abused. Although this loving family took him in, poor Khan did not even enjoy much time with him before getting bit by a snake in his heroic act. The family desperately wanted to bring him home and make up for all his past suffering with love and kindness. In fact, if the family did not take Khan in, he was going to be put down. When he had arrived to the dog shelter, he was in horrible shape. There were very obvious signs of abuse. Catherine spoke about his condition when Carrie Kinder, Doberling boarding kennel's owner, rescued him. He was starving, had broken ribs and had been beaten, He was an abused dog. It was borderline on whether or not he should be put down because he was in such a bad way. Reflecting on the tough background of abuse, Catherine gained insight on why Khan acted the way he did to her child. She explained, "He was starving for attention and wanted to be loved because he came from an abused home, so I'm not surprised about what he has done at his new home." Thinking about the horrific past, Catherine knew she had to stay determined and on top of this poor animal's recovery. Catherine needed to talk to the vet. As she dialed the vet, Catherine couldn't help but wish for good news. At first, the vet told her he had gotten sick in the night and her felt sick at this news. She just wanted to bring her new dog home safe and sound to a loving home. The Svilicics were so hopeful that they could return the favor and save this animal's life. The vet kept Catherine on the phone line while speaking with her team. They were currently trying to save Khan. As she held the phone, eagerly waiting, Catherine just wanted to hear something positive to cling on to. At last, the vet returned and had the wonderful news to share. The vet shared that Khan was slowly getting stronger. He was still incredibly weak, nonetheless, but was making progress, and the snake's venom had been removed. Catherine shed a tear of relief, but that wasn't the last piece of news. Catherine needed to have confirmation whether Khan would make a full recovery and get back to the dog they brought home from the shelter. It was not enough to hear he was doing okay. When could she tell her family they would have Khan again, if they could even promise her that? Finally, the vet gave her the confirmation she craved. Yes, Khan would be just fine. Now, Catherine at last felt she had an opportunity to make it up to this miraculous dog who actually saved her daughter. Thanks to a reptile expert, we know what could have been. So, yes, Khan was able to pull through and survive the attack. However, that was because the snake did not inject enough venom to instantly kill the Doberman. Though, if the snake somehow had gotten a bit of a tighter grip, this story could have ended a lot more tragically. So what was next for Catherine and Khan? Catherine's dedication was unwavering. She went into the vet yet again, so she could hear more about Khan's condition and road to recovery. Again, she had to remain patient until hearing the answers she needed most. It was more than just good news at the vet. Actually, Khan impressed even the vets with his rapid recovery and progress. The whole family could not wait to be reunited once again with this amazing and heroic animal. At last, this family would get their new dog back and move past the tragic day. They could not be more excited to be able to show this dog the love it deserved. Catherine made herself a special promise. Finally, the family could be reunited. Yet, Catherine was determined to protect this amazing animal as if it were her own child. How could she not, after it saved her own flesh and blood? She felt she could never repay Khan for that amazing deed. Now, Khan shared a bond with the family that could never be broken. As you can see, even years later, a not-so-baby Charlotte remains close with Khan. What about the dangerous creature though? What in the name was the creature responsible for all this? Well, it turned out the deadly animal was a snake. Though, it was not your average garden snake obviously. This was a mulga. What is that? Well, if you never heard of a mulga, that's okay, but you should know it's incredibly venomous. Actually, it's one of the most deadly snakes in Australia. No one spotted this deadly snake slithering through the grass, but Khan. As one of the planet's most deadly snakes, it is definitely something to be feared. The reason it is so feared is its venom. In fact, the venom has the power to kill an adult within just minutes. Thus, it was lucky Khan caught the snake. The baby Charlotte made an easy target for the snake. As a small baby, she would have slim to no chances of survival against a powerful venom. So Khan did really save that baby's life. Perhaps, the story about Khan saving Charlotte sounds familiar. Maybe you heard of Brutus, who was 7 years old in 2004 when he made history. This golden retriever grabbed a coral snake that was slithering towards a child. He suffered almost fatal bite, but got awarded the National Hero Dog Award in Los Angeles. If you think that's amazing, just listen to these next few tales of life-saving dogs. During the awful disaster that was Hurricane Katrina, some true heroes shined through. In particular, one black lab ironically named Katrina saved a man who was drowning. Just as the flood waters were rising and about to claim his life, Katrina rescued him. Eventually, the rescue teams came in and saved the dog, and she was even honored that year with a standing ovation at the Genesis Awards. Meet Shauna, who is part German Shepherd and the other half wolf dog. During an intense snowstorm, she saw an elderly couple, Norman and Eve, trapped within the snow. Thus, Shauna began digging a tunnel to pull them to safety. She successfully rescued the couple, who were eternally grateful. When a masked man broke into the Patel home, their 5-year-old German shepherd, Modi, took action. Modi barked at the intruder who showed him before running off. Don't worry, the brave Modi made a full recovery. This hero was awarded as the 2007 Dog of the Year. Next up is the 2006 Dog of the Year named Honey. Her owner, Michael Bosch, was trapped when his SUV rolled upside down into a deep ravine. Luckily, Michael used all the strength he could muster to free the 5-month-old Honey, hoping she would help. She surely did not let him down. The English Cocker Spaniel fortunately found a man about half a mile away and brought him to the accident. Rescuers confirmed that Michael would not have survived without Honey's help. A former Solider found himself stuck in the mud when his wheelchair couldn't budge even an inch more. Luckily, Gareth Jones' service dog was ready to help him through. Jones threw the dog a rope, and the 4-year-old golden retriever pulled until the wheelchair was at last free. Jones gives all the credit to his dog. He didn't let go until I was clear. He knew exactly what he was doing. In a movie-like moment, this Rottweiler named Eve pulled her paralyzed paraplegic owner from a burning truck. That's not even all. Eve continued to drag her until reaching a ditch, safely away from the vehicle's potential explosion. Afterwards, Eve won the Sittleman Award for her brave actions. Now we mentioned Hurricane Katrina, but that was not the only large-scale destruction where dogs saved lives. During the tragic attacks on 9/11, many dogs saved people buried in the collapsed buildings. One such hero was Officer James Symington's dog Tracker. This amazing dog dug through about 30 feet of not-so-stable debris at Ground Zero. Tracker even found the last survivor. After working so tirelessly, it was decided he would be cloned for use in other police rescue missions. When you live in certain swampy areas, you never know what dangers are lurking in your own backyard. When 85-year-old Ruth Gay was out back, an alligator crept up on her. Gay had apparently fallen while walking her dog Blue, an Australian blue heeler. Thus, when the alligator approached, Blue fought him off until scaring the gator off. Due to Blue's heroic actions, she saved her owner's life. Also, Gay's dog won the Dog Hero of the Year award for 2001. At just 11 months old, this Siberian Husky saved owner Marcy Sneed by seeking help. Sneed, a diabetic, had gone into hypoglycemic shock. Thus, her dog named Neo sought help at the closest building. Neo led people back to his owner where they phoned an ambulance. She made a full recovery. The next story may sound a little unbelievable, but we promise it really happened. Kankuntu really did save his family from armed pirates, we're serious. Owner Peter Lee was about to be hijacked while at sea on his yacht. Lee claims his dog thinks he's a lion, thus Kankuntu attacked the gunman. Sadly, the gunman then shot and stabbed the poor dog between the dog's shoulder blades. Thankfully, the amazing Kankuntu recovered. Now, this story is one of the most incredible dog stories. A diabetic man named Kevin Weaver begins to have a seizure and collapses. Then, Bell, his dog, bit the numbers 911 into Weaver's phone. Kevin is eternally grateful, saying, "There's no doubt in my mind that I'd be dead if I didn't have Bell." Bella then became the first ever dog to win Vita's Wireless Samaritan Award. To clear things up for you, Bell was specially trained to dial for emergency situations. Impressive, nonetheless. Wow, this 2007 Dog of the Year knew just what to do when his owner began choking. Toby, a golden retriever, jumped hard onto his owner, Debbie Parkhurst, in order to force the apple piece from her throat, saving her life. What a smart dog. This dog won the heroic Hearing Dog of the Year. Now, how does a dog win an award for hearing? Well, Nellie was able to detect and alert her deaf owner of an intruder in time to save her. The 4-year-old lab surely deserved the award. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.